Hello everybody, it's Dr. Rick dropping in on you. Hope everybody is, as I always say, having a good day, got in the middle of a great week and all of that. Before I get started, I want to remind you that we are in the middle of a fundraiser for the organization and for Black Men Lead, which is a rite of passage initiative coupled with wraparound services for young black boys and young black men. The organization as a whole is always in the middle of a fundraiser, but we definitely need your support. I want to talk to you about something I'm passionate about within the veins of this whole fundraiser thing, but not directly associated with it. I want to talk to you about behavior. I want to talk to you about the current state of affairs in the black community. I want to talk to you about the behavior of young black boys, young black girls, and why we are losing in every statistical category when you measure socioeconomic positioning. We're at the bottom rung of the socioeconomic ladder consistently, and there's a reason for it. It's not because we aren't capable, despite all the media push to suggest that we are inherently lazy. It's definitely not because we are lazy. This country was built on our backs. We have a different perspective of work because of that experience and how our mindset about working has passed down through generations. I don't have time to get into it, but I've written about it in depth. What I want to talk about is we love to lament about what black men are doing wrong. We love to lament about the atrocities that we see. I don't know if the person who shot the worker in McDonald's in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn in Bed-Stuy, I don't know if that was a black person, but it falls all in the vein of the way that young black people are behaving. But I know that we lost a prominent pastor who I knew personally, extremely personally. I worked with his young sons when they were moving up. One of them actually made it to the NFL. My brother was his minister of music for a couple of years. My nephew, my brother's son, was his drummer for a while. I don't know if that's still it. But a young black Uber driver decided that he pulled out of the car wash too recklessly or too fast, killed him. Two young girls in Atlanta put too much mayonnaise or not enough mayonnaise or something like that on the sandwich. Both of them shot. One of them died. A delivery driver in Bed-Stuy killed because there wasn't any duck sauce in the package. Not to mention all of the fratricide. That's us killing us. Now, I'm not one to push the black on black crime narrative because it is a construct created to present a false reality. The false reality is that blacks are inherently more violent. It's not that there isn't situations where blacks are committing violence acts against blacks. We know that to be true, but we also know that proximity plays a role in that. If we were to examine, for instance, the white population, we will find that 84% of the murders within the white population are committed by what? White people, simply because you tend to perpetuate crimes of passion around people you tend to be around a lot and know. So proximity plays a lot of the role in that, but we still have an issue. The lack of valuation of human life, the lack of a sense of purpose, a lack of a sense of direction, a lack of an understanding of where we belong and fit in this world. And it's so important, especially to the black male mind. Females, their brains move from left to right. As men, our brains move from front to back. Why is that important? Females tend to function off of an emotional awareness, a sense of spiritual intuition, how they feel about things. Men, we operate on a sense of identity, and it's heavily associated with our position in the world, what we do with our hands, what we accomplish in our lives. Our accomplishments are closely tied to our identity. So when there aren't direct and immediate access and pathways to certain levels of accomplishment, we start to experience a depreciation of self-value, a depreciation of self-worth. We start to question how we fit in, where we're at. We start to give those who have a pathway and tend to appear more successful more frequently and more consistently a sense of higher standing, not understanding that the past was different, the access was different, there is an inequity involved, and there is a lack of a sense of identity. We don't control the past, not at this point, because we have not developed a sense of purpose when it comes to building power. That's why I am now releasing book number 25, The War on Black Wealth, Breaking the Code, because there is no political power without there being economic power. You have no political weight. I don't care how many people you vote for and what they tell you. Your political power is in your economic fluidity and your economic force. What you are capable of doing collectively with your money is what's going to determine what you get out of this political game. Can you lobby? Can you put politicians in your pocket? That's the reality of it. One of the most crooked vocations or professions to get into in the annals of time is politics. So the idea that you can trust one of them to go up there and just based off of their word do what they said they're going to do is absolutely ridiculous. You got to hold something that means something to them. That's even why those who go up there meaning well get flipped, because this world is about power, and the dollar or money controls power. But back to this whole thing about why black males behave and do certain things, and black females for that matter. Conformity. Conformity is the construct and idea and concept of the day. Everybody is doing what everybody else does. Everybody wants what everybody else has. Nobody is thinking for themselves. Nobody has been taught to think critically. Nobody has the confidence to think outside of the box, because everybody wants to belong and everybody wants to be accepted. Well, manhood isn't about being liked. Manhood isn't about being accepted by the masses. Manhood is about being willing to take the necessary actions and make the necessary statements through your actions that will oftentimes be unpopular, unliked, and even hated. The job of being a leader, which is a part of the male responsibility, isn't based on how many people you can get to like you or who in society will accept you or co-sign who you are. That's not where it's at. Where it's at is being able to sit up and think critically, think outside of the box, be willing to move in a diametric movement or in diametric opposition to the standard idea of what is. The standard idea of what is beautiful doesn't serve the black population. The standard idea of what is classy does not serve the black population. The standard idea of what's professional in hair and makeup doesn't serve the black population. It is a Eurocentric construct, a Eurocentric idea, and that Eurocentric idea is designed to keep a certain group in power, keep a certain group imaged and positioned and seen as the elite. And if we're ever going to change the behavior of young boys, we're going to have to start with instilling in them the idea of the massive potential they possess. We're going to have to start that. That's called socialization. That's called, hey, by the time you're 4 years old, you already understand you belong here, that there's something remarkable and exceptional about you. There's something phenomenal within you that you don't need anybody to co-sign it. You don't need anybody to validate it. You don't need anybody to affirm it. Not even the people in your family, not even the people within your direct periphery. It's there. You know it's there. The moment that you discover it and you embrace it, nothing stops you. People often ask, well, you know, how did you get this? How did you get to doing that? How did you get to doing this? And it's one thing that I can sit up and say, and I'm real grateful for, is at the age of 2.5, I was precocious, so I wasn't your average 2-year-old. So let's just say 4. For the average 4-year-old, I was 2, but the average 4-year-old. My grandmother told me who I was. She then demanded that I behave as if I were. She demanded that I hold myself to a higher standard. She demanded, and I'm talking 2 or 3 years old. Let me tell you a story. It's in my bio. and a couple of other places, and I've told the story a lot, but I was very precocious. I have what's known as an eidetic memory. It allows me to retain a lot of information at almost verbatim detail. Sometimes people call it a photographic memory. The truth in the matter is, it's just the way I process. I naturally process an image. So everything that I see, I construct an image. The average brain does it as well, but I do it in a way, for some reason, better than average. Everybody has a gift. Everybody has a gift. And the problem is very few of us operating in it. My grandmother recognized that gift at 2.5 years old. I was potty trained at 9 months, walking at 9 months, remembering songs on the radio at 2 years old. So she took me down, took the Bible, and taught me the story of the creation, Genesis 1 through 3, chapters 1 through 3. And she taught me by touching each word. So I learned to read by word recognition. Before I could ever sound a word out, if it was in the King James Version of Genesis 1 through 3, I knew it. And so I could go around reading stuff, drove everybody nuts because I was just that crazy about reading. I'm going somewhere. I'm going to tell you why it's so important to socialize, to introduce a kid to his vision, into his gift, and into his purpose, into his identity. So 2.5 years old, I'm learning it. So with a short period of time, I know it verbatim. I can recite it. But she, being, theatrically related, she decided to teach me how to recite it, how to rise and fall with my speech, how to modulate on different words, how to make it come out and be alive. And after she taught it to me at age 3.5 or so, she took me around to all the churches, all the schools, all the organizations in the greater Houston area, Texas, and Dallas, and put a mic in my hand, and I became known as the kid who does the creation. I recited the creation in my own way, and people would literally book me to come. So I was public speaking without knowing that public speaking was a thing at 3. But that wasn't the thing that really got ignited in me, that made me who I am. She had ignited a passion of reading. At the age of 5, 1972, now I remember this extremely vividly. This is still during the time where everybody's coming to your house to sell you something. You got the encyclopedia salesman, the vacuum salesman, the dry cleaner, the linen people, the milkman. Everybody's coming by the house. So you got all these people. So having somebody stop by your house and try to sell you something wasn't a foreign thing. Now it's irritable as hell and it drives you nuts, but it was expected back then. That's how salesmen made their money. They came by door to door. Well, the encyclopedia salesman knocks on the door. Here I am, this kid that has this unbelievable, I'm reading the instructions on hair shampoo bottles. I'm just reading anything I get my hand, I'm reading it. And this guy comes in and he brings in an entire volume of the World Book Encyclopedia. Never forget, World Book Encyclopedia. And I'm just mouth open. And I'm going, what? And my grandmother looks over at me. And she sees this look on my face and she buys them. She reaches into her bosom with her little sock that was wrapped in foil, and she pulls out the money. She pays him cash for it. I was 5. By the time I was 10, I had read them all. It was unleashing me. It was unleashing my mind. It was pointing me to somewhere. And people say, well, that's because, no, it's not because I'm special. It was because she saw the gift. She nurtured the gift. She told me that made me capable. Everybody is special in some way. Most of the time, though, we are conforming. We are a world of conformists. What? Go to school. Everybody's conforming. Everybody's learning the same subjects, doing it the same way, being graded the same way. Nobody is searching for the gift. Nobody wants to unleash the mind because everybody wants to control it. And the problem is because we're not socializing our boys, and we're not, and for that matter, our girls, they're socializing them with rap music. They're socializing them with videos. They're socializing them with horrible video games. They're socializing them with all kind of content that they know their brains will automatically adapt to and draw in and contain. The thing is, at the most impressionable and developmental stages, they have been bombarded with ideas about them that does not serve them. Hell, we send our kids, and I literally do this. I help parents with this situation. We send our little 5-year-old boys into kindergarten. They are immediately targeted for special education. Why? Number one, special education means double the money. Number two, the largest population for teachers are white middle-aged women. They don't like little black boys. They're not comfortable with them. They don't feel like dealing with them. They already have up in their mind that they can't learn, and they don't want them in their classroom. So the first chance they get, anything they see where they're not keeping up, where they're not being still, where they're not doing something, they're ushered off, and they suggested that they go through a special education referral. Parents, be very careful about that. Before you allow the school's psychiatrists or psychologists to assess your child for special education needs, get an individual opinion outside of the school first. Why? It's not that they don't need IEP, it's that you need to make sure that they're not just being targeted. I've written a paper on the disproportionality of special education referrals of young African-American boys. It's crazy, and it's available for those who want it. Look, this is what I'm trying to get at. So they're in there now. They're 5 years old. They're being referred to special education. They're being diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder and ADHD. And you say, why do you keep pointing to those two? Because those two allow for medication. And matter of fact, those are what they use because number one is we're talking about ADHD and oppositional defiant disorder. These are what you call mental disorders. A mental disorder, there's no test for it. It is a subjective observation by, quote unquote, a trained professional to observe and use the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, to determine based on the grouping of certain symptoms what that person has. Now, once this non-biased, objective, really truly subjective individuals decides that they have oppositional defiant disorder or ADHD, now I can medicate, and the medications are Concerta, Vyvanse, Adderall, Ritalin. These are all Schedule II drugs and are stimulants that have a reverse effect in people who tend to have a hyperactive disorder. Here's the problem. You now have a 5-year-old child on a highly addictive drug to subdue them and hold them in. So now they don't feel the same. They can tell the difference in the feeling. They don't want to take it, but they're being forced to take it. And most of the time, their parents are not on the level of the people who are making the diagnosis and prescribing the medicine. So they don't challenge it. In fact, they insist that they take the medicine. You got to take this so you do well in school. And then even if they conform to that and do well in school, school doesn't prepare them, because school was never meant to prepare them to be empowered. It's prepare them to work. It was prepare them to be trained and pushed into different places where they could work, and then other people would benefit from that work while giving them pennies on the dollar of their true value. But again, because they don't know. But what normally happens is the black males are alienated. They are alienated at a rate that is astronomical in comparison to their white counterparts, their Asian counterparts, and Arab counterparts. And the reason is that they are targeted. Literally, they are picked out. They're easy targets. The parents don't have the ability to fight back. They are the targets because parents simply don't understand how things work, and they trust the system. The system is falsely identifying them, falsely diagnosing them, falsely ascribing to them attributes that don't serve them, slowly, systematically breaking down their identity so that they don't believe that they have value. So they start to see themselves as less than. They start to see themselves as worthless. The moment that I accept that I have no value, my life has no value, and I can't look at anyone who looks like me and see value in them, it simply is psychologically impossible. But the moment I see value in myself, I see the value in the life of those who look like me. I want them to excel like I want to excel. I want them to rise up and be everything they can be like I want to be. But we're failing in that. We're not socializing it. That's why Black Men Lead is so powerful. It's because we are claiming something for our children. We're claiming something for our young boys. I am challenging every person to gain a better understanding of that. If you have to tap into the organization, if you have to email me, if you have children who are in school, especially young black males, but girls as well, they are starting to target girls a lot with autism. Be careful. It's been a boy thing, big time boy thing for now, but they're starting to target them. We need to talk about that as well. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk about this. This is what I do for a living. This is what the Visionetics Institute is about. It's about the spanning of the spectrum. It's about creating a vision, but you create the vision from your identity. You unleash the mind. You unsuppress your imagination, and you become everything that you desire to become. They are actually suppressing the identity, or totally reconstructed it and representing it to our children, and we aren't doing anything about it. That is a major issue. And conformity is the ghost that stole future. What do I mean by that? Conformity says I'm going to fit in. Conformity says I'm going to do what I'm told. Conformity says I'm not going to challenge anything. That's the one way to guarantee that you don't get anything more than what everybody else is getting. If you want something more than the average person is getting, you got to be willing to do the things the average person isn't. You're going to have to get out of the box. You're going to have to challenge the status quo. You're going to have to question deep down inside what's possible and what's not. Everything that exists now once was considered impossible. But the mind that decided to explore the imagination of what could be determined it was possible. And what we find out is we have yet to come to a point where nothing can't be done. We just have to have an open mind and unleash it. The God of the universe has created everything to bring things to us that we are able to see in our mind. In other words, the very fact that we can conceive something in our minds is God's evidence to us that it's possible. The problem is we are limiting what our kids can see because we are forcing the image upon them. The image that was given to us, the image that was given to our parents. We aren't freeing them up. We aren't challenging them. As a matter of fact, we are beating it out of them or starving it out of them because we want them to fit in. We don't want that call from the teacher. We don't want that call from the principal. So what you're going to do is you're going to suck it up. You're going to go in there. Don't ask that question again. Don't challenge that again. Don't go in there and say this again. Don't tell them you're going to be this again. You know, this is what they expect from you. This is what you do. Stop giving them what they expect and show them who you are. Should be the message to your child, male or female. We're going to continue to do what we do here at the Odyssey Project and the work I do at Visionetics Institute as well. We're going to continue to speak to the young mind. We're going to continue to challenge the young black mind. We're going to continue to uplift the young black mind. We're going to continue to effectively and appropriately socialize the young black mind so that the young black male becomes powerful and the young black female becomes astonishing. It's our responsibility to do it. Nobody else's. This is why it's so important to support this, because this is so much bigger than some aesthetic presentation. I'm talking about changing the lives of the black youth in America. I'm talking about touching every city, every community, and giving every black kid a sense of self, every black kid a chance to look into their lives and imagine a vision for themselves where they're not powerless, where they're not helpless, where they're not hopeless, where they're not begging somebody for the crumbs on the table, where they have the ability to do for themselves. It's possible, and they need to know that. On that note, look, I'm out of here. I hope that what I shared with you today illuminates something and challenges you to do something. We definitely need the support, but we also need more people to become aware of exactly what's going on, because I can't fight this alone. On that note, I'm out of here. You guys have an unbelievable